Hi everyone! Today we're going to dive into one of the most fascinating systems in the animal body, the cardiovascular system, a system that literally never stops, day and night, pumping blood throughout the body.
The heart is a pump. That's the simplest definition. But this pump has a huge mission: keep the blood in constant motion, deliver oxygen and nutrients to the cells, transport hormones, carry antibodies, and remove the waste products from tissue metabolism.
It makes total sense that it sits right in the center of the thorax, protected by the ribs and surrounded by the lungs. In cats and dogs, the heart lies between the third and seventh ribs. In horses and ruminants, between the second and the sixth. This is important for cardiac auscultation.
The heart has that classic heart shape we draw. The base, circular, is where the great vessels enter and exit. The apex is where the left ventricle ends. Everything located in the mediastinum, the space between the two pleural cavities of the lungs. Now let's understand how the heart is structured layer by layer. The heart is primarily a muscular organ, and that makes total sense when we think about its pumping function. The outermost layer of the heart is the pericardium. And here's an important detail. It's not a single layer. It's made of two. The first, the outer one, is the fibrous pericardium, tough connective tissue with two functions: protect the heart and loosely attach it to the diaphragm. The second layer is the serous pericardium, more internal. And here's something interesting. The serous pericardium is also made of two layers. The inner layer is called visceral. It has another name you'll hear a lot: epicardium. This visceral layer, or epicardium, is intimately attached to the muscle right below it. The outer layer of the serous pericardium is the parietal layer, and it rests exactly between the epicardium and the fibrous pericardium. Remember these two terms. Visceral means belonging to soft internal organs. Parietal means belonging to the wall of an organ or cavity. These terms appear in many contexts in veterinary anatomy. Between the two layers of the serous pericardium, there is a small cavity filled with fluid. This fluid acts as a natural lubricant, allowing the heart to expand and contract smoothly without friction. Without this fluid, it would be like moving two dry surfaces against each other, pure wear and tear. Inside the sac formed by the pericardium, we find a thick layer of cardiac tissue, the myocardium. This is the cardiac muscle itself. It does the heavy work, contracting and relaxing without stopping. Striated under microscopy, like skeletal muscle, but with unique properties.
Between the myocardium and the heart chambers, we find a thin membranous lining, the endocardium. It is the smooth layer that internally covers the cardiac chambers. To recap the block: pericardium, myocardium, and endocardium. 3 layers, one unique function: pump blood. Now, let's understand how blood flows through the heart. This flow follows a very specific and organized path. In a healthy heart, blood travels in only one direction. A series of valves prevents backflow, meaning blood from going backwards. These valves work like one-way doors. Starting the circuit, deoxygenated blood arrives at the right atrium. It comes from the systemic circulation and the coronary circulation, which feeds the cardiac muscle itself. The cranial and caudal vena cavas drain there, into the right atrium. From the right atrium, blood passes through the right atrioventricular valve. It also has another commonly used name, the tricuspid valve. Crossing the tricuspid, blood enters the right ventricle. Then comes systole, which is the cardiac contraction. The right ventricle contracts, the tricuspid closes, and blood is ejected through the pulmonary valve, going to the pulmonary arteries. In the pulmonary arteries, blood branches out until it reaches the capillaries of the alveoli. That's exactly where oxygenation happens. The blood releases carbon dioxide and picks up oxygen. This oxygenated blood returns to the heart through the pulmonary veins, going to the left atrium. From the left atrium, blood passes through the left atrioventricular valve, another name,
The mitral valve. Crossing the mitral, blood enters the left ventricle. In systole, the mitral closes. The left ventricle contracts, and blood is ejected through the aortic valve.
This blood goes to two destinations. First, the coronary arteries, which feed the heart itself. Second, the aorta, the largest artery in the body. From the aorta, blood reaches the tissues. Exchanges happen, and deoxygenated blood returns through the veins to the vena cava, back to the right atrium. The cycle continues. Let's identify what we see when looking at the heart from outside. Interesting detail. The base of the heart is at the top, where the atria are and where the vessels enter and exit. The apex points downward, and the tip of the apex is the end of the left ventricle. The most visible parts of the atria are the auricles. Auricle means ear. They really look like ears hanging over the ventricles. The left auricle rests on the left ventricle, which is long and narrow. The right rests on the right ventricle, which has a wide surface and wraps around the left. The borders of the ventricles are separated by the interventricular sulci. Sulci is the plural of sulcus, which means groove. These sulci carry fat and coronary circulation vessels. Key concept about the walls. Atria receive blood at low pressure, so their walls are thin. Ventricles eject blood at high pressure, so their walls are thick and muscular. You can feel that difference by touching it. Vessels arriving. The cranial and caudal vena cavas plus the coronary sinus all converge at the right atrium. Several pulmonary veins enter the left atrium, bringing oxygenated blood back from the lungs. Vessels leaving. From the right ventricle comes the pulmonary trunk. From the left ventricle comes the aorta, forming the aortic arch. Interesting fact, the aorta has the highest blood pressure in the body. That's why its walls are thicker than any other vessel. Now we look inside the heart. The internal features maintain structural integrity and ensure one-way flow. Starting with the tricuspid valve. As the name says, it has 3 leaflets. These leaflets originate from the annulus, a fibrous ring. When the ventricle contracts, the leaflets must be prevented from curving back into the atrium. Who does that? The chordae tendineae. They connect the free edge of the leaflets to the papillary muscles, which are fixed in the interventricular septum, the wall that separates the two ventricles. In the right ventricle, there's a special structure, the moderator band. It goes from the septum to the outer wall of the right ventricle. Its function is to give extra structural support to that thinner wall. The pulmonary valve has 3 leaflets attached at their outer edges to the fibrous ring. It prevents reverse flow from the pulmonary arteries to the right ventricle. Together, tricuspid and pulmonary ensure that the right ventricle only fills from the atrium and only ejects to the pulmonary arteries. On the left side, the mitral valve has only 2 leaflets, different from the tricuspid. Same chordae tendineae and papillary muscles. Important detail. The left ventricle, with its thicker wall, does not have a moderator band. The last valve is the aortic, 3 leaflets, attached to the annulus, opens to the aorta in systole, closes in diastole, so the ventricle fills only from the atrium. The aortic and pulmonary valves, due to the half-moon shape of their leaflets, are called semilunar valves. We've seen a lot of important content. Let's recap. First, we understood the composition of the cardiac wall, pericardium, myocardium, and endocardium. Second, we followed the entire blood flow through the heart, from the right atrium to the aorta. Third, we identified the external and internal structures, including the valves with their chordae and papillary muscles. But there's much essential content ahead. In Part 2, we'll dive into the cardiac cycle, systole, diastole, how the electrical impulse propagates through the heart, sinoatrial node, atrioventricular node, Purkinje fibers, heart rate, cardiac output, how exercise, shock, and anesthesia affect all this.
cardiac auscultation, electrocardiogram, complete vascular anatomy, venipuncture techniques. Everything you'll use every day in clinical practice. It doesn't stop here. Stay with me for part 2.